A cruise on the Galapagos Islands is one of the most impressive experiences you will ever have. Whenever you have to imagine yourself that you're just navigating along an archipel of islands where you have so much wildlife. You're navigating and then you see penguins, you see flightless cormorants, you see whales, dolphins, sharks. Sometimes even whenever you're just navigating, you're watching wildlife. And since the Galapagos Islands is made out of 97% national park, you don't find a lot of other people during your trip. So I think that is why it's so special to go on a Galapagos cruise. Yeah, a Galapagos cruise is a full package. So you get to the airport, either Balta Airport or San Cristobal Airport. There you will be picked up by your guide. You'll be taken to the ship, expedition ship. So the capacity is between 14 and 100 passengers each vessel. And then the expedition starts. So usually you get on board, you get something to drink, a welcome briefing from the crew. There's always a safety drill the first couple of hours that you're on board. So you have to know where you find your life jackets. They explain to you what you have to do in case of an emergency. And then you start. You can go navigating right away, or you can start with dinner and activities. And usually you have a day looks like this. So you get up around 6:30. You have breakfast. Breakfast can be in a buffet type, but it can also be a la carte. Then you go off land, so you go either walking on an inhabited island, or you can go snorkeling. Then you go back on board. There's usually some snacks, some drinks, and then you start navigating to the next point. Usually you visit about two to 4 points per day. And the great advantage of going on an expedition ship is that you are really optimizing your time in the Galapagos, because while you're eating or showering or relaxing, the ship goes to the next spot. So you go back on board around 10:30. You go to the next activity. That might also be kayaking, it might be something on water. Afterwards you go back, you take a shower, you have lunch, and then in the afternoon the same. Usually you disembark around 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon until around 5 in the afternoon, and then you're back on board and use the time to navigate again to your next point of interest. In the Galapagos National Park, there are different visitor sites where you can go to. The National Park regulations are very strict, and there are about 60 expedition ships in the Galapagos. And they all have their own itinerary of places that they can visit during the expedition cruise. Luckily, the Galapagos Wildlife Conservation Initiative really helps to take a look at the flora and fauna and to see which places are very fragile, so that they cannot have any visitors anymore, and which places are not that fragile at the moment, so we can go there on an expedition ship. Usually the places that are more remote are only visited by expedition ships and not on a day tour, on a day excursion. So that really helps to keep it special, to keep it very exotic. A lot of times whenever I'm on a cruise, I just go on land and I'm the only one, together with my guide and with my group of travelers, on that specific spot, on that specific part of the island. And you really feel small again, because you are surrounded by so much wildlife, and that is something that you, in my opinion, can only find in the Galapagos. There are different types of cruise experiences. You have more low budget, backpackers type of expedition ships, and you have high-end expedition ships. We only work with ships that are mid-range, so a proper cabin, your own shower, your own toilet, until very luxurious expedition ships where you even have a spa on board, and everything in between. It all depends on your travel group and on your interests. So usually whenever you're on a smaller ship, it moves a bit more because you're in open ocean. But the adventurous, the way of going on off board, the guides that you have on board, the group of people that you are with, it's very much focused on adventure, on really getting to know these beautiful spots in the Galapagos Islands, to go at least twice a day snorkeling, to see the marine wildlife. And whenever you go to the slightly bigger ships, the ships that have, for example, 40, 45 passengers on board, it means that you have more space. It's a bit more comfortable on the boat itself, because you can find a jacuzzi, you can find a library. Usually you have very big sun decks where you can just relax. But it is not that adventurous as you would have with a very small group, very small group tour or very small group vessel. And then in terms of quality, all the ships that we work with, about 45 of them, it's all very comfortable. You can find a good bed, you can find a hot shower, you can find delicious food on board, usually mixed between Ecuadorian food and international food. What I really like from cruises is that at night you have the opportunity to talk with the guides, to listen to their briefings, and also to listen to their presentations, because they have a presentation, for example, about Charles Darwin and his background. They might have a story about penguins whenever you're going to visit one of the sites where you might see penguins the next day. So it really is a complementary experience. You have walking, you have snorkeling, you have sometimes even kayaking on board. You've got your guide that is telling you all the time all the different insights about wildlife. So for me, a cruise is really a complete experience. Whenever you pick your itinerary in the Galapagos Islands, you have to choose, or you can stay for 2 weeks. Whenever you go for 2 weeks, you can do the northern part of the islands and the southern part of the islands. But whenever you're just staying 1 week, or maybe even less, slightly less, you have to define the places that you really want to visit. I would suggest always to include one of the very remote special places like Genovesa, which is an island in the north. It's very special because you have the blue-footed booby, the red-footed booby, and the Nazca booby just on one island. Or you can try to include Fernandina in the northern part of Isabela. That's also very special because in Fernandina you find thousands of marine iguanas and you find the flightless cormorant. And in the northern part of Isabela you have a beautiful place, Punta Vicente Roca, where you can go snorkeling. We snorkeled there with so many marine iguanas, you cannot really imagine, and it was just beautiful. Or you can add one of the southern islands, the very special islands in the southern part of the archipelago, which is Española. In Española you find the waved albatross, and that's a very special bird that only breeds there on Española. So depending on your interests and on your travel company as well, you can define where you want to go and where you want to focus on in your itinerary. I don't think a Galapagos cruise is right for every traveler because it is an expedition cruise. You do feel the movement because you are in open water. You are with the same group of people for at least 4 days, and the itinerary is very strict. It's set before, so of course you can decide not to disembark, but yeah, you just navigate. You go along with the group, and I know that for some travelers that's not their way of having their dream vacation. So that is when we focus a little bit more on land-based, where you have more independence. Whenever you're ready to book your Galapagos cruise, it's very important to take a look at the month of when you're traveling. Some of the months are a bit rougher at sea, some of the months are a bit more quiet at sea. Right now we went in October on a cruise, which was good, but it was bumpy. There were a lot of waves because the Humboldt current was coming in. But it also means that you see a lot of huge, like water mammals. For example, we saw a lot of dolphins, we saw a lot of sharks. So you really have to think about the time of traveling whenever you're booking your Galapagos cruise. It's also important to take a look at the prices because there's a maximum capacity. There are ships for 14, ships for 100, so there's always a maximum capacity of cabins. We have a very nice system on the website where you can see real-time availability of all the cruises that we work with. And I think that really helps to define which type of cruise you can have for a certain amount of money, and also which type of cabin. Because in the bigger ships you might have 5 types of cabins. So it's very important to take a look at the details whenever you're booking a Galapagos cruise. Luckily we work here with a bunch of destination experts, so you can always request a free call, so we can help you to define your best cruise itinerary.